All right, let's jump into something kind of different today.
Yeah.
We're going to be diving deep into this new Elvis Presley experience called Elvis Evolution, and it's opening in London.
Wow.
So it's not just a concert or a museum,
Right.
but it's being described as a multi-sensory journey through his whole career using some pretty wild tech.
Okay.
So we're looking at an article from The Independent to break all this down.
Cool.
So what exactly is this Elvis Evolution thing?
Well, it sounds like they're mixing immersive sets with live performances of his greatest hits.
Okay, so like All Shook Up and Can't Help Falling in Love.
Yeah, exactly. And imagine like being surrounded by these sets that move and transform as you're listening to the music.
Oh, wow. So you really feel like you've stepped back in time.
Yeah.
I'm curious, though, what makes this different from just watching a really good documentary about Elvis?
Well, for one thing, they're using artificial intelligence to enhance all this 60-year-old footage.
Hmm.
And it's not just like cleaning up grainy images. It's actually revealing a bunch of moments from Elvis's life that have never been seen before.
Really?
Like home videos, behind-the-scenes concert footage, just all these candid moments that offer a new perspective on him.
Wow, so we're seeing Elvis in a way that wasn't possible before.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm hooked. Tell me more about this journey through time.
So it's all set up chronologically,
Okay.
starting with his roots in Tupelo, Mississippi, and following his whole rise to stardom.
I see.
And along the way, you step into these recreations of iconic places.
Like?
Well, like Bob's Big Boy Diner
Oh, wow.
from the 1960s where Elvis might have hung out.
Okay.
And get this, they even have a replica of his dressing room from 1968.
Really? Hold on. For anyone who might not be familiar, what was so special about 1968?
Oh, that was the year of his famous comeback special.
Oh,
It was this pivotal moment for Elvis after all those years of making Hollywood movies.
Yeah.
He kind of returned to his musical roots with this electrifying TV performance.
Yeah.
It really reignited his passion for performing live and, reminded everyone why he was called the king.
Mm-hmm.
And in Elvis Evolution, you can actually walk through a replica of the NBC Studios backstage area where they filmed it.
Oh, wow. You're really painting a picture here.
Yeah.
I can almost hear the music and see those blue suede shoes shuffling. But it's not all about the sets and the music.
Right.
This Elvis Evolution also has 3 themed bars.
It does.
Please tell me they're serving peanut butter and banana sandwiches?
I don't know about the sandwiches,
Ah.
but they do have a whole bunch of themed cocktails.
Okay, that's something.
There's like a classic 1960s diner bar,
Uh-huh.
a blue Hawaii bar inspired by his films and his lifestyle,
Oh, cool.
and an all shook up after-party bar to keep things going after the main event.
Wow. Talk about immersive. It's like they've thought of every Elvis fan's dream.
Yeah.
But tell me, isn't all this a little, well, much? I mean, is there any real substance to this, or is it just spectacle?
Oh, that's a great question.
Yeah.
Well, I think even though the glitz and glamour are definitely there,
Right.
what makes this truly interesting is that it forces you to think about Elvis as a real person,
Yeah.
not just this icon.
Uh-huh.
When you see those never-before-seen moments and experience the whole cultural context of his time,
I see.
it adds this whole other layer to his story.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's one thing to read about history in a book. It's totally different to feel it all around you. I'm already feeling like I need to book a flight to London.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And then to wrap it all up, the whole experience culminates with a live band performance of If I Can Dream,
That's right.
which, especially in 68, was a really powerful song.
Absolutely.
Speaking of that song,
Yeah.
it makes me wonder if Elvis Evolution is trying to do more than just entertain. Because that song was such a powerful message of hope and change during a really turbulent time in America.
Yeah.
Do you think they're tapping into that?
That's a really interesting point. And it's definitely relevant today with so much division in the world.
Right.
If I Can Dream was Elvis's plea for unity and understanding.
Yeah.
And it's a message that, we can still use today.
So maybe this experience is more than just a fun night out.
Right.
It could be a way to connect with that message of hope and think about how it applies to our lives now.
Exactly. And by using all this cutting-edge technology,
Yeah.
they're not just recreating the past,
Yeah.
they're making it relevant for today's world.
That raises another interesting question.
What's that?
Could this be the future of how we engage with historical figures and events?
Now, that's something to think about.
Could this immersive approach work for, like, Abraham Lincoln or Marie Curie?
Oh, wow, yeah.
The possibilities are kind of mind-blowing.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And that's what makes this Elvis evolution so intriguing.
Yeah.
It's not just about one man.
Uh-huh.
It's about the potential for this whole new way to experience history and culture.
Okay, so we've got a good sense of what Elvis evolution is all about. But I'm curious to dive a little deeper into how they're actually using this AI technology.
Okay.
What does it really mean for the viewer?
Well, think of it like this.
Okay.
Imagine being able to see Elvis's home movies, but in high definition.
Wow.
Or witness those iconic concert moments, but with like incredible clarity.
Uh-huh.
AI can actually reconstruct missing details or enhance the audio, so it's like being there.
So it's like they're filling in the gaps in history and giving us this more complete picture of him.
Yeah, exactly.
But doesn't that raise some questions about authenticity?
Of course.
Like how much of what we're seeing is real Elvis
Right.
and how much is AI?
Yeah, that's a totally valid concern. And there's a lot of debate about the ethics of AI in historical stuff. You know, there's
Okay.
always that risk of misinterpreting things
Mhm.
or even manipulating things.
I see.
So it's really important that it's used responsibly.
Okay, so it's not just about the cool technology, it's about using it in the right way.
Exactly.
So for now, let's shift gears back to the Elvis evolution experience itself.
Okay.
They've gone to such lengths to recreate some of these really iconic spaces,
Yeah.
starting with that Bob's Big Boy Diner from the 60s.
Right.
What can you tell us about that?
Imagine stepping back in time to the days of poodle skirts and jukeboxes.
Okay.
Bob's Big Boy was such a cultural icon back then.
Yeah.
It was where teenagers hung out, families gathered, and, you know, Elvis himself might have even been there.
Yeah. It's cool to think about those early days before he became a global superstar.
It is.
What does this diner setting tell us about him, as a person?
Well, I think it reminds us that he wasn't always the king.
Hmm.
He came from humble beginnings.
True.
And, you know, those early years definitely shaped his music and how he saw the world.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and by recreating this diner, Elvis Evolution kind of grounds his story in something that everyone can relate to.
Okay, that's a really good point.
Yeah.
It's easy to get caught up in the Elvis of the later years, all the glitz and glamour.
Right.
But we have to remember where he came from.
Exactly, and by immersing you in this environment, Elvis Evolution really makes you think about all those influences that shaped him, both as a person and as an artist.
Okay, that's a good place to pause for now.
Yeah, sounds good. And, you know, it doesn't stop at the diner.
Oh, right. What else?
They've also recreated his dressing room
Oh, wow. The dressing room. From what year?
from 1968.
Oh, so this is like peak Elvis.
Yes.
What was it like? Was it all gold-plated and shag carpet?
Well, I don't know about gold-plated, but the article makes it sound pretty authentic. Remember, this is the comeback special year, so there must have been so much energy around him.
Right. He was back to his roots after all those Hollywood movies.
Yeah, exactly. He was ready to rock again.
So what's it like to be in that room?
You can practically feel that excitement, you know,
Yeah.
seeing the costumes he might have worn, maybe even getting a glimpse of his pre-show rituals.
Wow.
It's like a window into this huge moment for Elvis and for music history.
That's so cool. And they also have the backstage area at NBC Studios.
Yes, where they filmed the comeback special.
Wow, you can practically feel the electricity of that performance.
You really can.
It really highlights how Elvis evolution is so much more than just looking at stuff,
Yeah.
It's about putting you right there in the moment.
Yeah, exactly.
The sights, the sounds.
And the emotions of each era.
Speaking of emotions, the whole thing ends with a live band playing If I Can Dream.
Right.
And that song, especially in 1968, was incredibly powerful.
It really was. It was a year of so much turmoil
Yeah.
in America and around the world.
Mm-hmm.
That song, with its message of hope, it was a defining moment in his career.
It really was.
It showed how much he cared and how he wanted to connect with people on a deeper level.
I think it's really interesting that they chose that song to end the whole thing with.
It is interesting.
Like, they could have picked anything, but they picked If I Can Dream.
Right.
It feels almost like a call to action,
I see what you mean. It's connecting his story to something much bigger.
Yeah.
It gets you thinking about how that message of hope can still inspire us today.
That makes me think about all the other possibilities for this kind of immersive experience.
Yeah, like what?
What if we could do this for other historical figures?
Hmm.
Could you imagine a deep dive into, like, Marie Curie's life?
I love that.
Or, like, a journey through the American Revolution?
Oh, wow. Yeah, the possibilities are endless.
What's really fascinating is that it doesn't even have to be limited to historical figures.
What do you mean?
Like, what if we could experience something like climate change this way?
How would that work?
Like, imagine an experience that doesn't just tell you about it, but makes you feel the impact.
Okay, yeah.
You walk through this environment, you see rising sea levels, maybe even experience what it's like to be a climate refugee.
Oh, wow, that would be really powerful.
Right. Instead of just reading about it, you're living it.
You're understanding it on this whole other level.
And it doesn't even have to be all serious.
Oh, true.
What about like a journey through the history of jazz? Oh, I love that.
Or even stepping into the world of your favorite novel.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Like walking through the streets of Hogwarts or feeling the thrill of a Quidditch match, right?
Okay, now you're just speaking my language.
The potential is limitless.
I know. It's really exciting.
And that's what's so cool about this Elvis evolution thing.
Yeah.
It's just this glimpse into the future.
Of how we might learn about stuff, explore things, connect with the world in a whole new way.
So what's the takeaway here? What should people be thinking about?
Well, I think the big takeaway is that we're on the edge of this huge revolution in entertainment.
Oh, yeah.
Information.
Yeah.
We're moving beyond just sitting back and watching things.
Right.
And we're moving into actually participating in them.
So it's like the difference between reading about something and actually living it.
Exactly. And this whole shift towards immersive experiences, it could totally change education,
Yeah.
travel, even how we understand ourselves.
You're right. It's more than just Elvis.
Elvis Evolution is about a whole new way of engaging with the world, the past, present, and even the future.
Absolutely. It's about using technology to create a deeper understanding.
Yeah.
And empathy.
Connection.
Exactly.
Well, before we get too lost in the future, let's get back to Elvis Evolution
Okay.
and all those details.
Yeah.
We've talked about the diner, the dressing room.
Uh-huh.
The article also mentioned a recreation of the NBC Studios backstage area.
Oh, yeah, where they filmed that comeback special.
What can you tell us about that?
Well, it's not just some static set.
Okay.
It's actually designed to evoke the energy of that night.
Cool.
Imagine standing right where Elvis stood,
Wow.
feeling the anticipation of the audience, hearing the music.
It's got to be so different than just seeing clips of it on YouTube or something.
Oh, totally.
To be in that space, to feel the atmosphere.
They're using the environment to actually transport you back in time.
It's like time travel.
Yeah. You're part of that moment.
And then, of course, it ends with that live performance of If I Can Dream.
The perfect ending.
It's so
It
powerful.
really brings it all together.
You know, hearing you describe all of this
Yeah.
makes me realize how much thought went into this whole experience.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's not just a bunch of random Elvis stuff thrown together.
Right.
It's a carefully crafted story.
It really is.
And it's a story that still resonates with people today.
It does.
Elvis's music, his style, his charisma.
It all still matters today.
It's incredible how one person can have such a huge impact on culture.
It is.
And Elvis Evolution is proof of that.
Yeah, it's more than just a tribute. It's a celebration of everything he was.
Okay, I gotta ask you
Yeah.
about the AI that they're using to, like, enhance all that old footage.
Right.
How does that actually work?
So it's pretty amazing.
Okay.
These AI algorithms can analyze the old footage and figure out how to improve it.
Okay.
Like they could sharpen blurry images, reduce all the graininess,
Right.
and even like rebuild missing details so you get this super clear and vibrant picture.
Wow. And sometimes even the audio can be enhanced.
Yeah, sometimes it's like it was recorded yesterday.
That's mind-blowing. It's like they're bringing the past back to life.
I know, it's like opening a time capsule.
But with all this AI stuff, I can't help but wonder about, like, the ethics of it all.
Oh, yeah, of course.
I mean, is there a danger in recreating the past so vividly? Could it lead to people getting the wrong idea about history?
That's a good point, and it's definitely something we need to be careful about
Yeah.
as this technology gets more and more advanced.
Right.
It's really important that it's used responsibly.
So it's all about finding that balance, right?
Yeah,
Between the amazing possibilities of technology and respecting the past.
exactly. And that's why the people behind Elvis Evolution have been so clear about how they're using AI.
Okay.
They're explaining why they made certain changes to the footage.
I see.
And they're really emphasizing that they're trying to illuminate history,
Right.
not rewrite it.
Okay. That's good to know.
It sounds like they're really trying to be sensitive and respectful of his legacy.
It does.
And that respect goes for the fans, too.
Oh, how so?
They're not just trying to please the diehard Elvis fans.
Okay.
They're creating an experience that anyone can enjoy.
So if you're curious about his life or his music or
Exact.
just his impact on pop culture,
Anyone can connect with it.
that's really cool. What about the reaction to Elvis Evolution so far? Have people been liking it?
From what I've read, people are loving it.
Really?
Yeah, critics are praising how immersive it is, the attention to detail, the way it blends history and entertainment
And technology.
and fans are saying it's like a really emotional experience, like stepping back in time and actually being with Elvis.
That's amazing. They've really struck a chord with people.
They have.
Speaking of chords, let's talk music for a sec.
Okay.
We know the show ends with If I Can Dream,
Yeah.
but what about the rest of the music?
So they've put together this incredible mix of his most iconic songs.
Oh.
From the early days to his later stuff.
Okay.
And it's all woven into the experience, so it really enhances the emotional impact of each scene.
So it's not just like a playlist of his hits playing in the background.
No, not at all.
Like a soundtrack to his life.
Exactly.
Carefully chosen to tell his story.
Yeah, and they've even included some lesser-known tracks.
Really?
So you get a deeper dive into his music and how it evolved.
That's awesome. They're really showcasing his range as an artist.
Yes, exactly.
Speaking of nuance, I want to circle back to the AI thing for a second.
Okay.
It's amazing that they can enhance that old footage.
It is.
But we have to be careful about the ethics of it, right?
Absolutely.
How do we make sure those enhancements aren't changing the past,
That's a good question.
Like, it's one thing to sharpen a blurry image.
Right.
But what about adding details that weren't there originally?
Yeah, or even changing facial expressions.
Yeah, where's the line?
That's a big topic in the world of historical preservation. It's something we really need to keep talking about as this tech gets better and better.
So transparency is key.
Totally. And that's one thing I really appreciate about Elvis Evolution.
Oh, yeah.
They're very upfront about how they're using AI.
Uh-huh.
They explain what they've changed and why.
Good.
So it's clear that they're trying to show us more about history, not create a new version of it.
That's great to hear.
Yeah,
It seems like they're being very responsible.
they are. And they're also encouraging people to think about this stuff.
Oh, interesting. How?
Like, they want people to really think about how technology shapes how we see the past.
Right.
And to be aware of what it can and can't do.
So it's not just about passively enjoying the experience.
Yeah.
It's about being an active participant, thinking critically.
Exactly. And that's what makes Elvis Evolution more than just entertainment.
You're right. It's a cultural experience.
It sparks conversations, challenges how we think about things, and makes us really consider the connections between the past, present, and future.
That's a really cool way to put it. This has been such an interesting conversation.
Yeah, it has.
And I'm seriously excited about what this kind of immersive experience could mean for the future.
Me too.
But before we wrap things up,
Yeah.
I want to ask you something.
Okay.
If you could create your own immersive experience about anything,
Oh, wow.
who or what would you choose?
That's a tough one. There are so many amazing possibilities.
I know, right?
But if I had to pick, I think I'd focus on the Renaissance.
Oh, wow.
Imagine being able to step into the workshops of Da Vinci and Michelangelo,
Yeah.
witnessing the birth of humanism, seeing all that incredible art and science come to life.
Oh, that would be incredible.
Just walking through the streets of Florence, hearing the music,
Yeah.
seeing those masterpieces with your own eyes.
I'm getting chills just thinking about it.
And think about what we could do with virtual reality.
Oh, my gosh.
We could
Yeah.
fly over Renaissance cities, explore the inside of palaces.
Oh, inside the Sistine Chapel?
Yes. Or even participate in a virtual dissection with a Renaissance anatomist.
Okay, you've officially convinced me. Sign me up. But for now, I'm going to start planning my trip to see Elvis Evolution.
It's definitely worth the trip.
And for our listeners, if you're as intrigued by all of this as we are, be sure to check out elvisevolution.com.
They have all the info there.
You can find tickets and everything.
Yeah, and if you end up going, let us know what you think.
We'd love to hear about your experience.
This is such an exciting time to be interested in history and music
Boy.
and these kinds of experiences.
Who knows what the future holds?
I can't wait to see.
This has been a great deep dive.
It really has.
I'm so curious to see where this whole trend takes us.
Me too.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here,
We have.
but it feels like we've only scratched the surface of what Elvis Evolution has to offer.
Yeah, there's always more to explore.
I mean, we've talked about the diner, his dressing room, even that incredible backstage area at NBC Studios.
Right.
Anything else from the article that really stood out to you?
You know, one thing that I really noticed was how they incorporated the music.
Oh, yeah, the music, of course.
It's not just like background music,
Right.
It's like woven into the whole experience.
Oh, interesting.
You hear those iconic hits as you move through the different sets.
Okay.
So it really brings you back to that era.
Like Hound Dog and Jailhouse Rock.
Exactly. It's like a soundtrack to his life, taking you through all the highs and lows.
Oh, I like that. A soundtrack to his life.
Yeah.
Did they give any specific examples of how they used the music?
Yeah, actually, they mentioned that when you enter the replica of his dressing room,
Okay.
you hear these sounds of him warming up his voice like he's getting ready for the comeback special.
Oh, wow.
It's like this behind-the-scenes peek into that moment.
You're not just seeing the space, you're feeling it.
Right, you can feel that nervous energy.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, enough about the dressing room. Let's talk about those themed bars.
Oh, yes, the bars.
What's the vibe like?
Well, they each have their own distinct feel,
Okay.
Like the 1960s diner bar,
Uh-huh.
that's all about nostalgia, classic cocktails, a jukebox playing all the hits.
Oh, I love it.
I can practically hear those poodle scoots swishing around.
And smell those fries and milkshakes.
Yeah, exactly. What about the other two?
Okay, yeah. What about the Blue Hawaii bar?
That one's inspired by all his movies and his love of the islands.
Oh, right.
So think like tropical cocktails, Polynesian decor, very chill.
I could use a little Elvis-style escape right about now.
Me too.
And lastly, the All Shook Up bar.
Oh, yeah, that's the after-party spot.
Okay, yeah.
So, keep the party going after the main event.
They didn't give too many details about that one, did they?
Not really, but I'm sure it's high energy, maybe some live music.
Oh, yeah, gotta have live music for Elvis.
It's a celebration.
They've really thought of everything.
Yeah, it's like you could step right into his world.
But putting the fun aside for a second, do you think this kind of experience could actually change how we learn about history?
Oh, I absolutely think so.
Could it make people want to, like, learn more on their own?
Yeah, I think it has that potential.
Because it's engaging all your senses, right?
Right, it's making a much deeper connection with his story.
Yeah, it's totally different from just reading facts in a textbook.
Oh, yeah, completely different. You're not just learning about it, you're feeling it.
It's like the difference between reading a recipe and actually eating the dish.
Exactly. And, maybe after experiencing something like this, people will want to read a biography or watch a documentary.
Right, they want to dive deeper.
Yeah, spark that curiosity.
And who knows, maybe we'll see more of these immersive experiences popping up.
Oh, I hope so.
For other historical figures or even events.
Like imagine a deep dive into Cleopatra's life.
Yeah, or a journey through the civil rights movement.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Suddenly, history is way more exciting.
Uh-huh, definitely.
But for now, let's stick with the king.
Okay, back to Elvis.
What makes this Elvis evolution so special?
I think it's how everything comes together to tell a story.
Yeah.
It's not just the sets, the music, or the bars.
It's a whole package.
Exactly.
And it's a story that still matters today, right?
Oh, for sure. Elvis's music, his style, everything about him.
It's all still relevant.
It inspires artists today, and it still draws people in all over the world.
It's amazing to think about the impact he had and still has.
It is, and Elvis Evolution really shows us that.
It's not just a tribute, it's a celebration of his whole legacy.
His music, his life, his ability to connect with people.
Across generations.
It's incredible.
Well, I think we've covered just about everything on Elvis Evolution.
Yeah, I think so.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about the concept, the technology, the whole ethical debate.
Even the peanut butter and banana sandwiches.
Uh-huh, almost.
So for anyone listening who's ready to book that flight to London,
Yeah.
head over to elvisevolution.com.
You can find tickets and all the details there.
And let us know what you think.
Yeah, we want to hear about your experience.
It's an exciting time for history, for music, for these kinds of immersive experiences.
Who knows what else we'll see in the future?
That's what makes it so cool. The possibilities are endless.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what's next.
Well, this has been an awesome deep dive.
It has. Thanks for having me.
I'm really looking forward to seeing where this trend takes us.
You too.
Thanks for listening, everyone.